Hello again. Welcome back to the Commoner's Mirror. My name is Scott. Today I did a pretty common YouTube project, which is a start to finish craft in 1 hour. The reason I did this is because I've been feeling quite a bit of hobby burnout. I think me, like so many others, fall victim to the trap of waiting until we're inspired sometimes when we step away from the hobby for too long. So, like any lazy, unmotivated person, I went on ChatGPT and I asked for some crafting ideas. Being that it was ChatGPT, most of them were complete shit. So instead, I decided to just make an Abyssal portal. I came up with a little bit of criteria, which was I wanted to have a lighting effect and I wanted to do a resin pour as well. I figured doing all of that within 1 hour would make it somewhat more interesting. So, as you can see, the first 15 minutes were just taking a scrap piece of foam and adding some texture to it, sculpting it down a little bit. I took a battery-powered tea light that I had, broke it apart, and then scooped out a piece in the foam so that I could make it a little home to fit snugly, and then poked a little hole so its little tea light eyeball could poke out. I started to freehand what the portal itself was going to look like, and after realizing that it was looking very vaginal, I added some additional wings on the side to rectify that situation. Once I gave it a proper scooping, the next step was to add some more texture and then go ahead and paint the whole thing gray. At this point, I was about halfway through and I thought to myself, oh god. In 30 minutes, I've made a shitty-looking gray block with a tea light in the middle. But I knew that I only had 30 minutes left, so I pushed on and decided to secure the tea light in place and go ahead and plug it up because I knew I was going to do a resin pour later. I painted the gouged out portion with red and yellow so that it would emulate more of an abyssal look. This part in the process is where it got slightly tricky, because normally I would be doing a wash and then a dry brush, but because I was on a time crunch, I had to go ahead and do kind of a wet wash, which turned out to just be a stipple. At this point, there was about 15 minutes left, so I knew that I had to get some details on if this was going to look halfway decent. So I grabbed some colored black sand and also some other various rocks, and I just started applying some clear Elmer's glue just by using a brush and mixing in various colors, and then also using some additional pieces of greenery like these little wheat pieces and then dried flowers just to kind of give the appearance of bushes and rubble. Almost all of the products that I'm using for these pieces of shrubbery are found at Hobby Lobby, just kind of cheapo little things. These are little wire dead trees that I just pressed directly into the foam. And then I just added some additional dried plants around with rocks on them just to give it a little more dynamic look. With about 4 minutes left to go, I realized that I still needed to do my resin pour. I do not advise trying to quickly do a resin pour. It is not a very smart thing. I'm not a very smart guy, and there's no real reason to rush something like this. It's asking for problems. However, since I was recording this for a YouTube video, everything worked out. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to do a rush job with resin, just make sure that you record it. Only joking. But that about wrapped up the time after the pour. I just added some last minute details using blood for the blood god, and I ended up going over by maybe about 30 seconds. I didn't want to go over by a full minute, but I figured if I kept it within that 1 hour and 59 second time frame, I would not be cheating. Cheating on who? I have no idea, because no one cares. But really, at the end of the day, what this project was about for me was about motivation more than anything. Do I need an abyssal portal for anything? No. Will I ever use this? Maybe. But the end result here isn't anything to write home about. Sure, I think it looks pretty good for an hour's worth of work, start to finish. But it's nothing special. What was special about making this was the actual journey of doing it and forcing myself to create something that I had no real motivation to do. And through the process of doing that, I rediscovered what I love, which is just creating things.